Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be tackling high-stakes selling with Jeff Thull's Mastering the Complex Sale.
Okay.
You've shared some excerpts from the book, and,
Yeah.
and we're going to try to extract the key insights to turn you into a sales ninja.
All right.
No throwing stars needed, just sharp strategies and maybe a few laughs along the way.
I like that analogy. I think this deep dive is all about really helping you thrive in this kind of crazy world of sales that's always changing, where things are getting like more complex and then paradoxically more commoditized at the same time.
Right. It's like two powerful forces pulling in opposite directions.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you've got these mega deals, think global teams, decisions that take years to unfold,
Yeah.
solutions that are incredibly specialized.
Yeah.
That's the complexity side.
Yep.
And then on the other hand, we have this relentless pressure
Yeah.
to commoditize everything.
Yes.
A race to the bottom on price.
It's a fascinating tension, and it's something that Thull addresses head-on in the very first chapter. He really sets the stage by describing this evolution of selling from what he calls the first era,
okay.
characterized by, transactional product-focused selling, to the second era where relationships and customer needs took center stage.
Yeah.
And now we're in this third era of selling where complexity reigns supreme.
Yeah.
It's not just about building relationships. It's about understanding how to navigate these intricate webs of decision makers, long sales cycles, and solutions that are often really difficult to grasp.
Think about it this way. Remember that Lockheed Martin $200 billion Joint Strike Fighter deal?
Yeah, great example.
That's a prime example of a complex sale, years in the making, multiple countries involved, a cast of characters that would rival a Hollywood blockbuster.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Thull argues that even those everyday complex sales, the ones that don't, grab headlines, share many of the same characteristics.
Right.
There are still multiple decision makers.
Yeah.
Lengthy sales cycles, and solutions that require a deep understanding of the customer's business.
And that's where I think traditional sales tactics often fall short.
Yeah.
The old pitch and close routine just doesn't cut it in this environment. Right. In Chapter 2, Thull breaks down some of the common traps salespeople fall into.
Okay.
Assuming the customer fully understands their own problems, or believing that a dazzling presentation is the key to winning them over.
Or thinking that every lead is worth chasing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of that one.
We've all been there. But Thull's point is that customers are actually making decisions about change.
Okay.
And it's our job as salespeople to kind of guide them through that process.
Yeah.
That's a much more consultative and collaborative approach.
Which leads us to the heart of the book.
Okay.
Thull's prime process for mastering the complex sale.
Right.
This four-phase approach is all about discover, diagnose, design, and deliver. It's a framework that takes us from understanding the customer's world to ensuring they achieve the outcomes they desire.
And in Chapter 3, he really dives into this process.
Okay.
Think of it as becoming a doctor for your customer's business.
Right.
You need to understand their symptoms, diagnose the root causes, and then prescribe the right treatment.
I love that analogy.
It's a good one.
So let's start with the first phase, discover.
Right.
This isn't about blasting out generic pitches to anyone who breathes.
Right.
It's about precision targeting, identifying your ideal customer, and crafting a personalized engagement strategy.
Exactly. It's about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Finding those customers who are truly hurting without your solution.
Right.
And who are ready to see you as a valuable partner.
So no more spray and pray prospecting.
I think that's a good takeaway.
We need to be laser focused on who we're targeting and why.
Absolutely. And that requires doing your homework.
Yeah.
In Chapter 4, Thull emphasizes the importance of research, both internal and external, to create a comprehensive picture of your customer's organization.
So we're talking about understanding their financials, their market position, their competitive landscape.
All of that.
Okay.
Plus their internal dynamics,
Okay.
their culture, their decision-making processes, their strategic goals.
Right.
It's about becoming a detective for your customer's business, uncovering the clues that will help you understand their pain points,
right,
and how your solutions can address them.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp of the customer's world.
Right.
Now, how do we actually engage with them?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Thull talks about playing against type
Yeah.
to break free from those, like, negative salesperson stereotypes.
Right. Customers often have these like preconceived notions about salespeople,
Right.
like pushy, unprepared, always focused on closing the deal.
Yeah.
We need to challenge those expectations and differentiate ourselves.
So what's the antidote?
Well, in Chapter 5, Thull offers several strategies, like demonstrating a willingness to walk away from the deal if it's not a good fit.
Okay.
This shows the customer that you're not just in it for a quick sale.
Yeah.
You genuinely care about their best interests.
It's about building trust and credibility,
Yeah,
proving that you're a true partner, not just a vendor.
precisely. And that's how you start to master the discover phase.
Right.
It's about laying a solid foundation for the rest of the prime process.
Yeah.
Ensuring you're targeting the right customers
Uh-huh.
and engaging with them in a way that builds trust and sets you apart from the competition.
This is all great stuff, but I'm curious to hear more about the other phases of the prime process. What happens after we've successfully navigated the discover phase?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Let's dive into the diagnose phase in the next part,
Okay.
where we'll explore how to help customers truly understand the depth and scope of their problems.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into mastering the complex sale.
Hey.
Last time we left off with the discover phase,
Right.
where we focused on identifying the ideal customer and building that initial trust.
Yeah.
Now it's time to kind of roll up our sleeves and dive into the diagnose phase.
Right.
This is where we really help the customer gain a deeper understanding of their challenges
Okay.
and the potential impact on their business.
So it's like we're putting on our consultant hats
Yeah,
and really getting into the nitty-gritty of the customer's problems.
exactly. In Chapter 6,
Okay.
Thull really emphasizes the importance of moving beyond surface level symptoms
Right.
and uncovering the root causes of the customer's pain.
Yeah.
This is where those diagnostic questions come into play.
Right.
Remember, it's not about leading the witness
Right.
or trying to steer the conversation in a particular direction.
Right.
It's about asking those open-ended questions that encourage the customer to think critically
Okay.
and explore different perspectives.
Can you give us an example of a diagnostic question?
Sure.
I'm curious to see how these work in practice.
Absolutely. Instead of asking a generic question like,
Okay.
are you happy with your current provider?
Right.
You might ask something like,
Okay.
what are the hidden costs of maintaining your current system?
Okay.
This prompts the customer to think beyond the obvious
Right.
and consider factors they might not have initially recognized.
That's a great example.
Thanks.
It shifts the focus from a simple yes or no answer
Right.
to a more in-depth analysis of the situation.
Precisely. And by asking these types of questions,
Yeah.
we're not just gathering information.
Okay.
We're actually guiding the customer through a process of self-discovery.
Right.
We're helping them see their own challenges in a new light
Right.
and understand the potential consequences of inaction.
Thull also talks about the importance of approaching the diagnosis from the customer's critical perspective.
Yes.
What exactly does he mean by that?
So in Chapter 7,
Okay.
he explains that the critical perspective is all about seeing the world through the customer's eyes.
Well,
It's about understanding their unique values, priorities, and fears.
okay.
It's about recognizing that what might seem like a minor issue to us
Right.
could be a major pain point for them.
So it's about empathy,
Yeah.
really putting ourselves in their shoes
Yeah,
and trying to understand their world from their point of view.
exactly. And it's also about building trust.
Okay.
By demonstrating that we genuinely care about their perspective.
Yeah.
We reinforce that we're not just trying to push a product,
Mhm.
we're trying to find the best solution for their specific needs.
This all makes sense.
Good.
But how do we actually quantify the cost of the customer's problems?
That's a great question.
I imagine that can be tricky,
It is.
especially when dealing with complex issues.
You're right. It's not always straightforward. But in Chapter 8,
Okay.
Thull provides a framework for calculating both the direct and indirect costs of a problem.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of considering.
Yeah.
Not just the obvious financial implications, but
Mhm.
also the less tangible costs,
Right.
like lost productivity, decreased morale, and damage to reputation.
So we need to help the customer connect the dots between their problems and the bottom line,
Yes.
showing them how
Mm.
these issues are impacting their business
Right.
in real measurable ways.
Absolutely. And by quantifying the cost of inaction,
Yeah,
we create a sense of urgency
right.
and highlight the value of implementing a solution.
This is all starting to come together.
Good.
Now, once we've helped the customer understand the problem and its like associated costs,
Yeah.
what's the next
Well,
step?
that's where the design phase comes in. But
Thank you.
before we jump ahead,
Right.
let's pause here and recap what we've learned so far about the diagnose phase. It's about asking those insightful diagnostic questions, understanding the customer's critical perspective, and quantifying the cost of their problems.
Right.
By guiding the customer through this process,
Yeah.
we help them reach that aha moment
Right.
where they recognize the need for change
Okay.
and are ready to explore solutions.
This has been really insightful.
Oh, good.
I'm starting to see how the diagnose phase sets the stage for a successful sale.
Yeah.
By creating that sense of urgency
Right.
and highlighting the value of finding the right solution.
Absolutely.
I'm eager to learn more about the design phase
Okay.
and how we can collaborate with the customer
Yeah.
to create the best possible outcome.
Great.
Let's continue our deep dive in the next part.
That's good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into mastering the complex sale.
All right.
We've explored the discover and diagnose phases
Yes.
where we focused on like identifying the ideal customer, understanding their challenges, and then quantifying the impact of their problems. Now it's time to shift gears and move into the design phase.
Okay.
This is where we really collaborate with the customer
Right.
to create a solution, a tailored solution that addresses their needs.
That's right. In Chapter 9, Thull really emphasizes the importance of moving beyond just product-centric selling
Okay.
and embracing a more consultative approach.
Right.
We're not just trying to push products or services.
Right.
We're working with them to design a solution that truly solves their problems.
So it's about being a trusted advisor,
Exactly.
someone who understands their business
Yeah.
and can help them navigate
Yeah.
the complexities
Yep.
of implementing change.
Exactly. And that starts with defining clear decision criteria
Okay.
in Chapter 10.
Right.
Thull outlines a process for working with the customer
Yeah.
to identify like the key factors that will drive their decision making.
Okay.
This might include things like cost, ROI, implementation timeline,
Yeah.
alignment with their, overall strategic goals.
So it's about setting expectations up front and ensuring that everyone's on the same page.
Precisely. And once we've established those criteria,
Yeah.
we can start to explore different solution options.
Okay.
This is where we need to be prepared to think outside the box.
Right.
Consider alternatives
Yeah.
that might not involve our own products or services.
Wait, you mean we should actually recommend competitor solutions?
Yes,
If that's what's best for the customer?
absolutely. In Chapter 11,
Wow.
Thull argues that this is one of the most powerful ways to build trust
Okay.
and demonstrate our commitment to the customer's success.
Okay.
By putting their needs ahead of our own,
Right.
we position ourselves as a true partner, not just a vendor trying to make a quick sale.
That's a bold move.
It is.
But I can see how it would pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
If we're genuinely focused on solving the customer's problems,
Yeah.
they'll be more likely to trust us and come back to us.
Exactly. And once we've kind of explored the different options,
Yeah.
we need to help the customer evaluate those alternatives
Right.
and make an informed decision.
Okay.
This is where we can really use our expertise
Right.
to provide insights, highlight, potential risks and benefits,
Yeah.
guide them towards the solution that best aligns with their needs.
So it's about being a facilitator, helping them navigate that decision-making process.
Precisely. And once they've made a decision,
Yeah.
it's time to move into the final phase of the prime process, deliver.
Okay.
This is where we ensure that the solution is implemented smoothly
All right.
and that the customer achieves, the desired outcomes.
So it's not just about closing the deal and walking away.
No.
It's about providing ongoing support
Yeah,
and ensuring that the customer realizes the full value of the solution.
exactly. In Chapter 12, Thull emphasizes the importance of exceeding expectations.
Okay.
Measuring results and building those long-term relationships. This is how we create those loyal customers who become advocates for our business.
This has been an incredible deep dive into mastering the complex sale.
It's been fun.
We've explored all 4 phases of the prime process: discover, diagnose, design, and deliver.
Yes.
It's a powerful framework that can transform the way we approach complex sales
Yeah.
and help us achieve greater success.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just the beginning.
Right.
The key is to take these insights, apply them to your own sales process, and continue to learn and grow.
Yeah.
The world of sales is constantly evolving, but the principles outlined in Thull's book
Right.
provide a timeless foundation for mastering this art of the complex sale.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation.
And to our listeners, remember, keep diving deep.
Yes.
Keep challenging those conventional sales paradigms.
Yeah.
And keep striving to become true prime professionals.
Love it.
Until next time.